It's incredible to think that more time has passed since I Love Lucy first aired than in the period between Lucille Ball's landmark sitcom and Mark Twain's great novel, Huckleberry Finn. Just as Twain's magnum opus marked the birth of modern American literature with its use of everyday Southern vernacular, I Love Lucy signaled the arrival of the TV era. Yet, whereas Twain's work would have felt dated even in the 1950s, the most influential sitcom of that decade still feels surprisingly fresh even by the standards of today's small-screen comedy. It's a measure of just how special I Love Lucy is that it continues to attract audiences almost 75 years after its arrival on CBS. As well as being one of the best TV shows of all time, the sitcom was game-changing at the time of its original run. It fundamentally rewrote the rule book for TV comedy, establishing a format that networks would follow for the next half-century, and developing a formula that scriptwriters for the small screen still depend on today. The show also championed female-led comedy during an era when women weren't supposed to be funny unless they were the butt of a male comedian's joke. In addition, Lucille Ball pioneered the role of women as creative figureheads in Hollywood by taking a lead in the development and production of her own sitcom. I Love Lucy created the sitcom as we know it today. Lucy and Ricky from I Love Lucy. The legacy of I Love Lucy is evident across the landscape of modern television. In chronological terms, the show is surely the most influential network sitcom ever broadcast, because it paved the way for every single release in the format that came after it. While there were hit sitcoms that came before it, I Love Lucy was the first such show to air exclusively in the half-hour format we've come to recognize as the standard for network TV, and was the first to attain mass popularity. In fact, it could be argued that the series helped pave the way for all genre television and situational dramas that came after it. Perhaps only the Western show The Lone Ranger could rival its appeal in the early 1950s as a half-hour series based around a single situational premise. Among comedy shows, however, I Love Lucy unquestionably reigned supreme. Its format, setup, and narrative themes inspired other popular sitcoms such as The Honeymooners and The Andy Griffith Show. Even The Mary Tyler Moore Show was structured around the same basic premise, 2 decades later. Without I Love Lucy, not only would these shows not exist, but their successors at the summit of TV comedy, Seinfeld and The Simpsons, wouldn't either. I Love Lucy was a groundbreaking show in many ways. Lucille Ball as Lucy and Vivian Vance as Ethel singing the friendship song in I Love Lucy. Put simply, I Love Lucy is among the most important TV shows of all time. It broke new ground as a TV comedy with a multi-camera setup, recorded directly onto film rather than using the kinescope recording process preferred by previous shows. The technical requirements of this setup meant the show had to be shot in Hollywood, rather than in New York, as most other TV broadcasts were at the beginning of the 1950s. This decision was the initiative of lead stars Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz themselves. Arnaz also co-produced the show, and the couple developed its premise themselves. TV performers providing the impetus for a show's development was unheard of at the time, and prefigured the waning influence of the studio system over actors and directors on both big and small screen productions. The leading role Ball played behind the scenes in I Love Lucy was especially groundbreaking for a female star at the time. Her fictional sitcom alter ego Lucy Ricardo was a trailblazer, too, as she took the lead with the show's inimitable brand of physical comedy, negating the TV stereotype of women as passive or secondary participants in male-dominated comic performances. What's more, Lucy's powerful bond with her friend Ethel was a pioneering example of female solidarity on the small screen. Beyond its novel portrayal of friendship between women, the show overcame social taboos carried over from the generation preceding it by depicting a mixed-race marriage on screen. Desi Arnaz was Cuban, and so was his sitcom character, Ricky Ricardo. As well as its progressive depiction of marriage, the show working Lucille Ball's real-life pregnancy into its plot marked another TV first. In typically self-effacing fashion, Ball later gave credit to I Love Lucy's writers for the sitcom's humor, telling Rolling Stone magazine, "I'm not funny. What I am is brave." Via Los Angeles Times, of course, this comment enormously underplays exceptional talent and range as a comedian. However, it does touch upon a salient point. Only someone with extraordinary courage could break through the barriers Lucille Ball did to make I Love Lucy the immeasurable success it was. How I Love Lucy became the most popular TV show of its era. Lucille Ball as Lucy and Little Ricky in I Love Lucy. I Love Lucy debuted on CBS in October 1951, and almost immediately entered the top 3 most-watched series in the United States. The show then lived up to the huge potential of its first season by claiming the top spot in the network TV ratings the following year. According to Classic TV Database, I Love Lucy was the most-watched series in the US for 3 years running between 1952 and 1955. It was briefly overtaken by the game show The $64,000 Question in 1956, but returned to #1 in its final season. The sitcom arrived in the right place at the right time, riding the wave of explosive popularity that the television experienced as a new-age home appliance in the early 1950s. Between 1952 and 1953 alone, television audiences in the United States almost doubled. But it's to I Love Lucy's credit that it quickly became the show everybody was watching, truly putting the sitcom genre on the map for the first time. The series wasn't alone in its catch-all premise about a married couple in their 30s, but its unique blend of ingredients set it apart from everything else on the air. Lucille Ball's supreme comedic talent, her natural on-screen chemistry with real-life husband Desi Arnaz, and a winning combination of outlandish comic scenarios with sympathetic, three-dimensional characters helped I Love Lucy push the boundaries of what television could offer to viewers. The sitcom wasn't just wildly successful. It was completely transformative for TV as a medium of entertainment. I Love Lucy still holds up today, 74 years later. Lucille Ball shocked in the I Love Lucy episode The Girls Go Into Business. It's telling that I Love Lucy only became more beloved and popular when its original run ended, and it went into syndication. In fact, it was the first sitcom to make use of reruns to extend its reach. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz made most of their fortune this way, paving the way for Jerry Seinfeld to do the same decades later. But syndication only works for sitcoms that are funny enough to stand the test of time. This aspect of I Love Lucy was never in doubt. Indeed, Lucy's funniest quotes are still some of the best one-liners in TV comedy, and the show's consistently brilliant slapstick set pieces have never been matched by any sitcom since.